good afternoon to everybody. I'm just going to share my screen now. Just going to take you on a whistle-stop tour of our postgraduate, top postgraduate courses within the School of Archaeology here at UCD. So, just as kind of a contextual overview, the School of Archaeology at UCD is the oldest and largest school of archaeology on the island of Ireland. Staff and related research is linked into different sectors, including academic, private, commercial, governmental, and policy as well. And the school is currently ranked in the top 100 of schools in the world rankings of 2026. At present, we have just over 100 top postgraduate students in the school, so kind of a large community of people from various different backgrounds, and from a broad range of countries as well. And one of our kind of strengths, and also something that we highly prize, is our highly international makeup of our top postgraduate students. Of the 100 or approximately 100 over all programs, about 50 of these are on campus in various programs that I'll go through today. Aside from progressing to further research, such as PhDs and things like this, our past students have also gone on to work in commercial archaeology in Ireland. So that's digging archaeology in Ireland, private sector, and abroad as well. National heritage sectors in Ireland and abroad too. Places like the British Museum, National Museum of Ireland, Victoria and Albert, and lots of other places around continental Europe and America. And then local museums and archaeological open air museums as well, which would be familiar to anybody involved in archaeology, and all the way to governmental departments. So these would be places like National Monument Service or kind of heritage-based sectors more generally. So before I go into the programs, I just want to give you a sense of the overall structure of our master's program. So we have a number of different programs, five in total, five main subjects at present, including on-campus and online offerings. And for our on-campus offerings, our main MSc structure is a good representation of the others. So you have 3 trimesters. They're full-time. They are 1-year programs over 3 trimesters. So that would be an autumn, spring, and a summer trimester. 2 of the trimesters, the autumn and spring, are taught trimesters. So basically, you have classes within that where you have to achieve modular credit to progress, and then into summer trimester, which is a research trimester where you do a dissertation. I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a second. So your trimester 1 is essentially can be thought of as your theory method, although there's a number of different components to it. You will tend to have 1 or 2 core modules depending on your program. They will vary, but these are subject-specific cores. So these are where you will kind of really get into the meat of the subject that you're studying, and then you'll have options. The options vary. So as a general rule, the cores for one program become the options for another. And so there are a huge range of options at postgraduate level. However, you can also reach into the final years of undergraduate as well and take modules from that based on the idea that there might be some training or kind of subject matter within these that you find very appealing and want to do. Trimester 2 tends to be our more practical trimester, and again, similar structure where you'll have your core modules and then your options, mostly coming from the other programs. This is where you take the theory method from trimester 1 and put it into practice in trimester 2. So be that through practical experimental classes or field trip classes or in different kind of frameworks within different programs. All this is for your training towards your dissertation. So at the end of the two thought components, this is where the graduate diploma ends. That's 60 credits, 30 over the first two trimesters, and that program concludes. If you're going on to MSc, Master of Science, then you would take on an additional 30 credits to bring you up to 90 credits to qualify for a Master of Science. This is through the dissertation. The dissertation is on a topic that you have worked with over at least one trimester to design, to plan, and then to implement yourself on a range of different topics that can be facilitated from different staff within the school. Okay, to go through some of the programs, or to go through all the programs really, we have MSc and graduate diploma in hunter-gatherer archaeology. This comes as a full-time or part-time course, full-time course over 1 year, part-time course over 2 years. The essential breakdown structure between the two is you do half of the taught credits, so 15 instead of 30 credits, over 4 trimesters instead of 2. Second. So the MSc in hunter-gatherer archaeology is for students interested in the fascinating and remarkable world of hunter-gatherers. It's often claimed that humans have spent 90 to 99% of their existence as hunter-gatherers. Understanding these ways of life provides vital perspectives on human identity and the challenges and opportunities societies face today. It is a great example of our research teaching approach in the school. Again, a key component of an awful lot of the teaching and learning within the school is your lecturers or program coordinators and research feeding directly into their teaching. This is the only university master's program focused entirely on the subject of hunter-gatherers. It challenges deeply ingrained popular understandings of how hunter-gatherers live, and offers alternatives that emphasize the richness of human experience more generally. This is directed by a colleague, Professor Graham Warren, expert in hunter-gatherer archaeology more generally, who also offers this online graduate certificate program in hunter-gatherer archaeology and anthropology. This is an online program that interested people can do from all around the world to get a taste for this subject, and then maybe consider it for later postgraduate work on campus. So another one of our programs is MSc or graduate diploma in archaeology. Again, it's the exact same structure as hunter-gatherer. You can do 1 or 2 years, full-time or part-time, and it comes in a range of different kind of formats. This is directed by my colleague, Dr. Jessica Smith. And the Masters in Archaeology is the school's longest running postgraduate program, and over the decade proves or boasts huge numbers of alumni. Archaeology is the discipline of things, exploring how people in the past created unique societies through the construction, use, and perception of landscapes, plants, animals, and things. This is our general archaeology program, covering a broad range of topics, including interpreting archaeological landscapes, artifacts, and bioarchaeology. So a real broad range of different kind of approaches and understandings within archaeology. Going into one of our other programs, slightly to the left of archaeology, this is the MSc and graduate diploma in World Heritage Management and Conservation. Again, exactly the same structure as our other programs. And again, just to point out that the part-time offerings have visa restrictions applied to them, and so non-EU or EEA students can only take the full-time programs due to immigration regulations. So this program or these programs are coordinated by my colleague Dr. Claire Cave. Heritage managers play a significant role in planning site management, ensuring sustainability, contributing to sustainable development, and transforming the function of heritage in the life of the community. UCD Master's Program in World Heritage Management and Conservation is aimed at students who wish to develop their knowledge and skills to excel at managing cultural and natural heritage sites and protecting and protected areas. In a world rapidly moving away from traditional models of Euro and Western centric world heritage, it is the only university program of its kind offered in an English speaking master's level. Crucially, this program also fuses cultural and natural heritage into a holistic understanding of the subject, something unique across different programs. Just to kind of point out that World Heritage is aimed at people who want to become heritage managers, but also people who are heritage managers and may find it difficult to step away from their jobs for prolonged periods of time. And so the school also offers a 3-year part-time online program, which starts as a graduate certificate in year one, transfers into a graduate diploma in year two, and transfers into an MSc in year three. This is an excellent offering for people who are looking to upskill within that kind of within that occupation, and as well, you can take different levels of it. So you can just do the grad cert, or do the grad dip, or go on for the whole MSc, depending on what your kind of career needs and your training needs are. Um, Going back to some of our more traditional archaeology programs, the MSc and Grad Dip in Experimental Archaeology and Material Culture. This is coordinated or directed by my colleague Anita Rodini, and experimental archaeology can be defined as a reconstruction of past buildings, technologies, and things and environmental context to enable a better understanding of the character and role of materiality and material culture in people's lives. The MSc in Experimental Archaeology and Material Culture fuses traditional approaches to material culture, including description, analysis, and interpretation, with the power of testing archaeological hypotheses and generating reference collections through archaeological experimentation. This is a unique program. This unique program is linked to the Centre for Experimental Archaeology and Material Culture, CMAC, which is a global leader in experimental archaeology and is a university recognized research center for research and public engagement. And again, is kind of one of our kind of flagship programs. Again, similar to the hunter-gatherer program, there is a graduate certificate. This is an online program in experimental archaeology and material culture. This allows people from around the world to engage with experimental archaeology at university level, but from a range of different kind of circumstances. Importantly, our graduate certificate classes are one module per trimester over 3 trimesters, and so can be accommodated even with full-time working. I'm also very happy to introduce a newest program starting in September 2026. It's the MSc in Graduate Diploma in Mediterranean Archaeology. This is coordinated by my colleague, Dr. Barry Malloy, but it's been run across 2 schools, the School of Archaeology and also UCD School of Classics. So again, given a really good mix of subjects for any prospective students. While this master's program will be looking at places like classical Greece and Rome, it's taking the Mediterranean basin as a broad chronological and also thematic unit, and so it will range through lots of different parts of the Mediterranean, lots of different time periods. Also trying to understand how the reception of these classical periods impacts us even today. So just to sum up, just some of the funding and support links. If you go onto our website, School of Archaeology website, you see the link there. You'll find various different links. Just to highlight two, K Mahan bursary is a bursary administered by the school through philanthropic donation, and also the School of Archaeology graduate scholarships are also administered through the school, so apply through those links. And for anybody applying online from small island developing nation, we also have grants and scholarships available through this link. And again, to give you a kind of a broad sense of what some of these scholarships mean, the K Mahan bursary is around 3,000 award, contributing towards fees, and the School of Archaeology scholarship is 5,000 contribution towards fees. So I think that's about me, Cleena. I'll pass over to you or David now.
Brilliant, thank you. That's great. And it's great to see those other scholarships. So a lot of our non-EU students online, you'll be familiar with the pages on the UCD Global page, but it's great to see those opportunities just for archaeology students that the school has. Not every school has these, so it's fantastic. So I'll pass over to David now, who's going to tell us a bit about his experience being a current student.
Hi everyone. Yeah, David Spence. I'm doing the master's program in experimental archaeology over here in Dublin. Um, why did I pick the class? Well, I've always been interested in experimental archaeology, and I looked at a number of programs in Europe, and I was very impressed by the program at UCD. And so I'm super jazzed that I made this decision to come over here to Ireland. I'm loving Ireland. The university is great. The weather could be a little bit better at times in Ireland, but the history and just the people in Ireland is fantastic. And Dublin is just a great, great city to be in. Um, so far, I'm almost at the end of the spring semester, and I'm about to start the summer semester working on my dissertation, which I'm super excited about. I think why would I pick UCD? Well, as I said, the staff and the lecturers are really amazing at UCD. I can't think of a class that I've disliked here. I have some of my favorite lecturers, and then other students in my class talk about other lecturers that I haven't had, and they're always raving about their classes. So the content is really interesting. The quality of the teaching is very high. Um, what's also interesting is we've had a number of conferences this year, so we've got to meet archaeologists from all over Europe. There are regular guest speakers coming into the university, so you're sort of getting exposed to some of these top people from all over the world. Field trips are fantastic. The archaeology in Ireland itself is really, really interesting. And so one of the things I've enjoyed is just traveling around the country myself, looking at sites, but then a number of my classes like landscape archaeology, for example, we've gone off and visited a number of sites around the country. It's close to Europe, of course. It's easy to get across to Europe if you want to go and see Europe. The facilities in the university are fantastic. There's a great gym. There's lots of clubs. And we've sort of, I think, developed a really close-knit group as students. I think probably the best thing we have, for me anyway, is that we have this amazing outdoor learning center called CMAC, which has a roundhouse. It has pottery kilns, forging areas, furnaces. And so we do a lot of work outside in that area, and that's just a really fantastic location to be working. We also have another workspace in Roebuck Castle, which is nearby, and there's pottery wheels, there's looms, there's all this equipment and facilities that we can use. And so as a master student, you get access to these spaces and you get to use them, which is really fantastic. And it's just a great resource. I have no regrets about coming over here. I've really, really enjoyed the program. I think it's well worthwhile. And many of my fellow students are going to sort of carry on. A number of them are going to go work in professional archaeology in Ireland. And then a lot of them are planning to sort of carry on and do their PhD here. So if you have sort of questions, feel free to contact me. Happy to talk with you more about UCD and the program, but I highly recommend it.
Thanks, David. And it's great to see that mixture between being in the classroom, field trips, having these great speakers come and visit, and then, of course, that kind of hands-on experience in the CMAC Centre as well. Really kind of a whole, really enriched experience, the whole thing. So thanks for that. And myself and one, I suppose, last piece, David, like if you were to give somebody considering accepting an offer or has accepted an offer and are just, weighing up everything, what piece of advice would you give them now at this stage before they've packed their bags or bought all their stationery ready to walk into UCD? What advice would you give them?
Mhm. I think the one challenge is accommodation here. So you want to get on top of that really early. So talking to other students that are getting into UCD, doesn't have to be an archaeology program, and just trying to talk with the university and sort out accommodation. That's the only challenge. It's a really easy city to get around. The public transport system is great. I live off campus. Some of my classmates live on campus. People live all around Dublin, so it's easy to get around. Um, yeah, I think accommodation would be one thing I would think you need to look into.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, David. So myself and Mairead are going to have a bit of a chat now, I think. We've everybody on here. So if Brendan and David want to add anything at any point, please feel free. So Mairead, you are a graduate from the School
I
of
am.
Archaeology. So
I am indeed.
what did you study?
Yeah, so I did the MSc in Archaeology, the general program directed by Dr. Jessica Smith. I had a fantastic experience. I found the School of Archaeology to be a really supportive and welcoming environment, very encouraging. I was able to kind of expand and change and develop my thinking about the research that I'm interested in. I ended up at UCD from a US-based undergraduate program from the US originally. And I did undergraduate research on the Irish Iron Age. Very difficult to do Irish archaeological research outside of Ireland. So I decided I was going to continue academic study, and I looked to Ireland for a master's program.
Great, that makes sense. I was kind of wondering why Ireland, why UCD, but you answered that. That does make sense. It would be more difficult to do that in the States. I suppose on your program, can you tell me a little bit about the modules that you really enjoyed, or a bit about the course content, and working with your peers, and how many people were in your program, and any kind of field work or practical experience you did as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So my cohort was about 16 or 18, I believe. We all got on really well. There's a group of kind of core modules that you're all taking, so you're seeing the same faces, which is great. I really enjoyed. David shouted it out already. There's a really excellent landscape archaeology course module that's taught. My research falls really nicely into a kind of a landscape niche. So I really enjoyed that. But I also appreciated there's a lot of opportunities throughout a lot of different modules to kind of speak with specialists and learn about different specializations, be that kind of archaeobotany or wood analysis or textile work and things like that. There's a lot of really, really well qualified experts in the school, and the opportunity to kind of learn from them and think about the questions that I'm interested in from kind of their perspective, I think I found really valuable.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I suppose, as David said as well, having all those guest speakers to come in as well, and conferences probably helped with that also.
Yeah,
can you tell us about what you're doing now? When did you graduate, and what job are you doing now?
Yeah, so I graduated, I finished last year in 2025. My graduation was in December. I have been teaching for working as a tutor for the School of Archaeology for the undergraduate program over the this last academic year. It's been a really wonderful experience to get to kind of be on the other side of the classroom, and it's certainly expanded my knowledge of archaeology as well. You learn something very differently when you're teaching it than when you're consuming it kind of as a learner yourself. In addition to that, I've been doing some commercial archaeological contracts. As Brendan mentioned, many of my classmates have gone on currently to be working in the commercial sector. There's a lot of opportunity for that at the moment around the Dublin area and throughout the country. And also in preparation for a PhD.
Oh, fab. Yeah, I was going to ask, because you obviously did very well, impressed people, so you got a job in UCD, but what your friends went on to do, and they all found employment in areas they're interested in after graduating as well. So that's great to hear. Can you talk a little bit maybe about your thesis and how that experience was working on that at the end of your program?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a daunting prospect to stare down the barrel of. It looks like a very short period of time, and it is a relatively short period of time, but there's an incredible amount of support at all levels in the school as you're kind of beginning this process. I had a really excellent supervisor, very supportive, who I was able to kind of talk through the couple of problems I was having or concerns I had. And so my master's dissertation was focused on human-animal relationships in late Bronze Age sites of settlement in Ireland. And so my supervisor was a zooarchaeologist, but I was also able to speak about it and consult and have conversations with people, other people in the school, who maybe either work in the Bronze Age or do kind of more settlement type thing and stuff like that. So I was able to kind of make use of a lot of different kinds of advice and perspectives in that process.
Brilliant. That's actually something I hear a lot, both for undergrad and postgrad, about that support within the school, how it is a very nice environment and how like you're really kind of looked after and encouraged, and it's a nice kind of collegiate kind of environment. So it's lovely that you found that as well.
Yeah, you are by no means, or at least my experience of it certainly was there was no kind of like hands off, all right, go be free, and best of luck to you. There's a lot of support and scaffolding of that kind of big research project. It's built into the degree as a whole.
Brilliant.
I can hear too, to give you an example, we have a number of students in my class who are really interested in drawing. And so one of the lecturers basically set up a lunchtime session each week where we will practice sort of archaeological drawing. So yeah, it's incredibly supportive, the faculty here. And yeah, completely agree with that.
And I think as well, the trajectory that Mairead was describing there. So we'll get, depending on where students are coming from, an awful lot of our students will take the maybe a year after their studies to go into what in Ireland's called commercial archaeology. It's just kind of a private sector digging in Ireland. It's a vibrant sector with lots and lots of projects on at the moment, and it's linked to our national building strategy. So there's an awful lot of work in it at the moment, and that would be a kind of a place that some people want to go, like kind of that's their desired occupation. Some people want to go there for a while to gain some experience before figuring out what they want to do beyond that. Other people, maybe in Mairead's situation, want to inform their later research with some more practical digging experience, and so either way, it's a great kind of option for people, and we would get a good few kind of going through that road for various reasons. And I know people who've were on our programs actually a decade ago and are still working in commercial archaeology, right the way to people who do it for a short period of time and then migrate into the rest of their career.
That's brilliant that there's a nice stepping stone when you graduate straight into something to kind of get that experience and even think about your next step. Mairead, I suppose, is there any other advice or anything else you'd like to share from your experience, or advice to people thinking about following your footsteps?
My goodness. I would recommend, advise, ask a lot of questions. I know that's the most like cliched thing you could possibly say. I found you get kind of as much out of it as you put into it, right? There's there's events and things that the school runs, seminar lectures and things like that. Turn up and be present. Ask questions, speak to people. That's the way you're going to kind of build relationships and be part of the academic community that the school has. So.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So what we'll do now is I'm just going to really briefly talk about some of the supports that UCD offers that kind of helps with all that. And then we will do our Q&A after that. So keep your questions coming in. We will get to them all in a few moments. And I just really have a handful of slides that I want to share. And then we'll move on to that. Okay, so for a lot of people, whether you're, in Ireland or you're, thinking about coming to UCD from Europe or further afield, it is a real, investment in your future. It's your time, it's money as well. So, we've spoken a little bit about those opportunities after graduation, and Mairead is testament to all that. But just a little bit about working in Ireland for our non-EU graduates. So we have the stay back visa. So that's a visa where you can work for 24 months. And then hopefully if you want to remain in Ireland after that, you could get sponsorship. After 5 years, which includes your 2-year stay back visa, so after 5 years, you can apply for permanent residency. If you did love Ireland so much that you want to stay. Employment, UCD is ranked #1 for employability in Ireland and is in the top 100 in the world. So if we consider there's about 50,000 universities worldwide, UCD is ranked in the top 100. And you can see that from what our panelists have been talking about, the support in the job, in the school, the different areas of the learning environment as well. It really is created to help you succeed after graduation as well. The unemployment rate in Ireland is low. It's 4.6%. If we compare that to the European average, it's 5.1. So again, there is opportunity there. You're probably all sick of hearing about, Dublin is the European Silicon Valley and all that. Ireland is home to a lot of multinationals in tech, pharma, med tech, AI, and financial services. But and that in turn creates a really good environment for successful SMEs. And as archaeology students or future archaeology students, you might be wondering, well, what the hell does that have to do with me? I want to be an archaeologist. But there is a trickle-down effect of that across all the sectors. So, whether it's, more money pumped into heritage, there's more need for those commercial archaeologists that Brendan spoke about. It is a real, it's kind of a rising tide lifts all boats. So this does create opportunities across all sectors in the country as well. So, UCD, as I mentioned, ranks very high and a lot for employability, and a lot has to do with the course itself. But it's also our UCD Careers Network, which are a fabulous area in UCD to really help you with all of this. So they have, recruitment fairs, they have CV and interview feedback and prep. There's a jobs platform, there's career development modules, one-to-one career appointments. They have other alumni panel events. Your school might have some, but also the UCD wider area will have some as well. There's workshops for you to upskill in certain areas and career workshops. I would advise you all to link in with the Careers Network as soon as you arrive in UCD, even just to know what's going on. It can be really helpful and really avail of all those supports. And that's for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're from down the road in Dublin or you've come from further afield. The Careers Network is really there to help and support everybody. For those of you that are international students, there is a specific Jumpstart program, and that's to just allow you to understand the Irish recruitment market and kind of the skills that Irish employers are looking for. So I would again encourage you, if you are an international student, loop in with this, connect, get all those advantages and all that help that is there to support you, just to understand the Irish landscape a little bit better when it comes to, interviews and the recruitment process and things like that. And we heard from Mairead, obviously, about her trajectory and other jobs. So just some things that recent graduates have gone on to do. Obviously, the commercial archaeologists, there's Director of Preservation and Research, heritage consultants, there's government roles, education, research, people going on to PhDs and things like that. So that's just give you a flavour and encourage you to connect with the Careers Network in Ireland when you arrive. So we do have some questions. So this is for all the panel. So thank you for those of you that added questions when you registered. We'll go through some of them first. So I'll just leave this open to the panel. So are there job or internship opportunities for international graduate students in the archaeology department?
It's a good question. So we get asked a good bit. So we have various different research projects come up kind of every year. New projects kind of emerge, and they emerge at different times of the year. So we can never predict what exactly will be available, what types of projects will come up. One year there might be a lithics project for hunter-gatherers, the next year it might be medieval pottery and stuff like that. There's always something available for people to be able to gain some archaeological experience on. But when it comes to actual kind of, a research assistant role or something like that, it's not something that we encourage at master's level. There's such intensive courses that taking on another role within the school the worry would be that it would split, that particularly if it was a paid role. that would be a difficult balance to make. And so there's lots of opportunities to gain experiences, but again, it kind of, yeah, it varies year on year. But I would be incredibly sure. I would be absolutely sure that in September there will be different projects emerging.
Great.
But,
And another question is, sorry.
sorry, I was going to say, Mairead, maybe you had a different experience with that.
No, yeah. I was able to do some lab work for Dr. Graham Warren, Professor Graham Warren, on a project that he was working on. Several of my cohort mates joined that as well. An excellent way to get a kind of a different kind of experience, perhaps than you might already have. It was on a kind of a voluntary basis. I did it not only for the experience, but it was a nice way to kind of break up the week to week, the week on week. You spend a lot of time on a screen doing a lot of desktop based research. So it's nice to get an opportunity to get back into it and remind yourself sort of the hands-on bit and learn a new skill that may take you in a new direction.
Great. And another question, and one for you, Dr. O'Neill. What's the track to go from MSc into a PhD? How would you advise people to navigate that?
Yeah. There's a couple of different routes. Actually, again, invoking Mairead's trajectory. Mairead obviously did her MSc as part of her dissertation. She looked into a topic kind of along the lines of what she would then go on to apply for in her PhD. But her PhD is outside UCD, so it's with colleagues in the University of Cork, which we were very happy to support and are delighted to see the connections happen. And again, I think not to speak out of turn, Mairead, but I think as well, Mairead would have been supported in that application from us as well. And so it's a similar trajectory then if you're doing it in UCD. You would attend to your masters first. An excellent masters will afford you all the opportunities to apply for PhDs in the future. And so I would always tell people, don't try and split your focus between looking down the road at your PhD while writing your masters. Engage with your masters, engage in that research, put yourself fully in it. Don't sit there thinking about the application to come. Sit there thinking about the job you have to do, because that will produce the best version of your research that can be produced. That gives you the options then to go on to apply. And the way you do it in UCD School of Archaeology is after your masters, you then go and you'll have a sense of the staff that you're interested in working with. Basically, you need to identify a supervisor. That's through conversations with members of staff and then an agreement for the two of you to work together, usually to work together on an application for funding. It's 4 years. It's an awful lot of time. As David said, the cost, the housing can be expensive, can be difficult to get. There's a cost of living. Everyone needs to eat. And so funding application is the next logical step. You would work together with your supervisor or potential supervisor on that application. There are a number of different funding bodies that you would go for in that, and then hopefully be successful. The kind of from finishing your MSc, you'd finish that in August. You might submit an application for funding if you were doing it straight away. By the end of October, mid to the end of October, you might find out about success in kind of May, early May, that kind of time, and then start the following September. That's the quickest timeline. But you could add another year in there, take a year to go digging, then come back and do the application and then come in. So there's a number of different routes, but typically speaking, that would be the format.
Right.
Yeah, if I can.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, if I can, add in or expand a little bit on that. So, because of the timing of funding and things like that, there is sort of a 9 month to a year space where you are between programs, and that's a really excellent time to be doing a variety of different kinds of work and experience and things like that. But it is kind of built in, as Brendan said. The funding landscape in Ireland can be very dynamic. So conversations with a member of staff, a supervisor, will kind of help parse that out, and you can figure out your timeline from there.
Brilliant. And then another question, does the school offer manual handling and safe pass courses?
No.
No.
No, but there's that's an industry need. So to walk onto any building site in Ireland, you need to have both of them certificates. They're run pretty much every day through various different kind of providers, and typically speaking, they're quite easy to get onto. Usually, if you start with a commercial company, and again, this isn't a rule, this is just normal practice. If you start with a commercial company, they can link you in with companies and or provide them courses in-house. It depends on the company, to be honest.
Brilliant.
I'll add to that as well that the professional body in Ireland, the Institute of Archaeologists of Ireland, does run an annual manual handling course contracted with one of the organizations that runs them. And the last 2 years, it has been based at UCD, and it is free to members, including student members. So I was able to get mine through that. So it's something I can't promise they'll do it every year, but they have the past 2 years anyway.
Okay, that's great. That's great to know. Are there any available lists of, texts people should be reading or other materials that they could access now in preparation for starting their program?
There's bibliographies attached to modules that people can go into, but I would personally, I used to be the program director for one of the programs. I was acting program director for another one, and I'm graduate director now. My advice to anybody coming into a program is don't go too deep into advanced reading unguided. Oftentimes it can it can provide good context and stuff like that, but it can also be something that has to be unpicked as you join the course. Instead, your modules are kind of aimed to guide you through the literature and the kind of thinking on things. General source books. Each program will be different. There'll be a World Heritage one. There's some stuff on experimental archaeology, some stuff on general archaeology. What I would suggest, if you really wanted to get some advanced reading, is look at the people who are delivering the modules, look at the things that they've written, and if there's something in there that piques your interest. Because, like I said, research to teaching is a big part of what we do. Their research is likely to end up somewhere within their modules, and so that would be a good way. But actual list, there's so many programs, and there's the modules then within them are so kind of diverse that one subject list it doesn't really exist. But again, you can have drawbacks to go too deep into advanced reading. I don't know, but the guys might have different things to add there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be overwhelming to look at a list and try to read through it all on your own. If there's an area that you're finding yourself interested in, I certainly no harm in having a poke around, seeing what kind of the shape of that part of the discipline is like. But I certainly you wouldn't find yourself walking into the first day of a module and everyone else knows what's going on and you don't. Everybody equally doesn't know what's going on to some extent. And that's the point of the modules anyway. So
that's comforting. So just have some more questions here. For the online programs, is it asynchronous learning or is there set times for
there's three subjects basically covered: archaeology, hunter-gatherer, and world heritage. They have different formats across them. So the experimental archaeology is held at a specific, it's set times. And it's a set time that's it depends on the composition of the class each year. So this year, I know there's people in the States, there's people in Australia, there's people in Europe. It covers most time zones, and they have found a time. I don't know what the time is, but they found a time where that suits the composition of that class. You're not going to be getting 4 a.m. Lectures, but it just depends on the composition of the class. Whereas I know the hunter-gatherer graduate certificate is linked to a module, and so again, it's late in the afternoon in Ireland, which tends to overlap quite well with either early morning or the evening, depending on where you are in the rest of the world. And then the World Heritage various programs tend to be less tethered to specific times, and more kind of rolling material and a lot of self-guided work that then is grounded in tutorial or seminar-based learning. So it varies, to be honest.
Yeah, but it will be accessible to people no matter what their schedule is like. So that's comforting to know.
I know that the program directors take pains to select times, and that's why, particularly with the experimental one, it's kind of a negotiation. Typically speaking, at the beginning of the year, what's the best time to make this work for everyone?
Great. And then another question, is it possible if somebody completes one of the online or one of the certificates, is it possible to transition into an MSc program at a later time, or would they have to do some other prior learning before being eligible for that?
David?
I can answer that question because that's exactly what I did. So yeah, I did the online program in experimental archaeology. I loved it so much that I actually wanted to do it. So no, yeah, it's been very successful. Enjoyed both classes, but yeah, you can totally do that.
Brilliant. We have proof right in front of us that you can do that. So that's great. Another question is, would people need a very high performing laptop for any of the programs they're using, or is a standard laptop fine?
Standard. The main thing that I can think of is there's a GIS module. So the GIS, there's a GIS lab that the school uses through the School of Geography, and all software is there, and so you don't need to, and it has all the performance capabilities. But then the software is also downloadable as a student from UCD itself, and you don't need any specific specifications like outside of normal laptop.
I did a significant amount of GIS for both in the module and then for my dissertation, and I would my laptop didn't love it, but it did perform all of the functions that I asked it to. So you can use the computer lab, you can use your own machine. There's options there.